My Feelings, 12 September 2003. Dear Oscar, I am writing this to you from the airport. I have so much to say to you. I want to begin at the beginning because that is what you deserve. I want to tell you everything without leaving out a single detail. But where is the beginning? And what is everything? I am an old woman now, but once I was a girl. It's true. I was a girl like you are a boy. One of my chores was to bring in the mail. One day there was a note addressed to our house. There was no name on it. It was mine, as much as anyone's, I thought. I opened it. Many words had been removed from the text by a censor. 14 January 1921. To whom shall receive this letter? My name is, and I am in Turkish labor camp, block. I know that I am lucky to be alive at all. I have chosen to write to you without knowing who you are, my parents, my brothers and sisters, the main. I have written every day since I have been here. I trade bread for postage, but have not yet received a response. Sometimes it comforts me to think that they do not mail the letters we write, or at least throughout and without once nightmare. To write a few words to me, I would appreciate it more than you could ever know. Several of the received email, so I know that. Please include a picture of yourself as well as your name. Include everything. With great hopes. Sincerely I am. I took the letter straight to my room. I put it under my mattress. I never told my father or mother about it. For weeks I was awake all night wondering, why was this man sent to a Turkish labor camp? Why had the letter come 15 years after it had been written? Where had it been for those 15 years? Why hadn't anyone written back to him? The others got mail, he said. Why had he sent a letter to our house? How did he know the name of my street? How did he know of Dresden? Where did he learn German? What became of him? I tried to learn as much about the man as I could from the letter. The words were very simple. Bread means only bread. Mail is mail. Great hopes are great hopes are great hopes. I was left with the handwriting. So I asked my father, your great-grandfather, whom I considered the best, most kind-hearted man I knew, to write a letter to me. I told him it didn't matter what he wrote about. Just write, I said. Write anything. Darling, you asked me to write you a letter, so I am writing you a letter. I do not know why I am writing this letter, or what this letter is supposed to be about, but I am writing it nonetheless, because I love you very much, and I trust that you have some good purpose for having me write this letter. I hope that one day you will have the experience of doing something you do not understand for someone you love. Your father. That letter is the only thing of my father's that I have left, not even a picture. Next I went to the penitentiary. My uncle was a guard there. I was able to get the handwriting sample of a murderer. My uncle asked him to write an appeal for early release. It was a terrible trick that we played on this man. To the prison board. My name is Kurt Schulzer. I am inmate 24922. I was put here in jail a few years ago. I don't know how long it's been. We don't have calendars. I keep lines on the wall with chalk. But when it rains, the rain comes through my window when I am sleeping, and when I wake up, the lines are gone. So I don't know how long it's been. I murdered my brother. I beat his head in with a shovel. Then after I used that shovel to bury him in the yard. The soil was red. Weeds came from the grass where his body was. Sometimes at night I would get on my knees and pull them out so no one would know. I did a terrible thing. I believe in the afterlife. I know that you can't take anything back. I wish that my days could be washed away like the chalk lines of my days. I have tried to become a good person. I help the other inmates with their chores. I am patient now. Might not matter to you, but my brother was having an affair with my wife. I didn't kill my wife. I want to go back to her, because I forgive her. If you could release me, I will be a good person, quiet, out of the way. Please consider my appeal. Kurt Schulter, inmate 24922. My uncle later told me that the inmate had been in prison for more than 40 years. He had gone in as a young man. When he wrote the letter to me, he was old and broken. His wife had remarried. She had children and grandchildren. Although he never said it, I could tell that my uncle had befriended the inmate. He had also lost a wife and was also in a prison. He never said it, but I heard in his voice that he cared for the inmate. They guarded each other. And when I asked my uncle several years later what became of the inmate, my uncle told me that he was still there. He continued to write letters to the board. He continued to blame himself and forgive his wife, not knowing that there was no one on the other end. My uncle took each letter and promised the inmate that they would be delivered. But instead, he kept them all. He filled all the drawers in his dresser. I remember thinking it's enough to drive someone to kill himself. I was right. My uncle, your great-great-uncle, killed himself. Of course, it's possible that the inmate had nothing to do with it. With those 3 samples, I could make comparisons. I could at least see that the forced laborer's handwriting was more like my father's than the murderer's. But I knew that I would need more letters, as many as I could get. So I went to my piano teacher. I always wanted to kiss him, but was afraid he would laugh at me. I asked him to write a letter. And then I asked my mother's sister. She loved dance, but hated dancing. I asked my schoolmate Mary to write a letter to me. She was funny and full of life. She liked to run around her empty house without any clothes on, even once she was too old for that. Nothing embarrassed her. I admired that so much, because everything embarrassed me, and that hurt me. She loved to jump on her bed. She jumped on her bed for so many years that one afternoon, while I watched her jump, the seams burst. Feathers filled the small room. Our laughter kept the feathers in the air. I thought about birds. Could they fly if there wasn't someone somewhere laughing? I went to my grandmother, your great-great-grandmother, and asked her to write a letter. She was my mother's mother, your father's mother's mother's mother. I hardly knew her. I didn't have any interest in knowing her. I had no need for the past, I thought, like a child. I did not consider that the past might have a need for me. What kind of letter? My grandfather asked. I told her to write whatever she wanted to write. You want a letter from me? She asked. I told her yes. Oh, God bless you, she said. The letter she gave me was 67 pages long. It was the story of her life. She made my request into her own. Listen to me. I learned so much. She sang in her youth. She had been to America as a girl. I never knew that. She had fallen in love so many times that she began to suspect she was not falling in love at all, but doing something much more ordinary. I learned that she never learned to swim, and for that reason she always loved rivers and lakes. She asked her father, my great-grandfather, your great-great-great-grandfather, to buy her a dove. Instead, he bought her a silk scarf. So she thought of the scarf as a dove. She even convinced herself that it contained flight, but did not fly, because it did not want to show anyone what it really was. That was how much she loved her father. The letter was destroyed, but its final paragraph is inside of me. She wrote, I wish I could be a girl again, with the chance to live my life again. I have suffered so much more than I needed to, and the joys I have felt have not always been joyous. I could have lived differently. When I was your age, my grandfather bought me a ruby bracelet. It was too big for me and would slide up and down my arm. It was almost a necklace. He later told me that he had asked the jeweler to make it that way. Its size was supposed to be a symbol of his love. More rubies, more love. But I could not wear it comfortably. I could not wear it at all. So here is the point of everything I have been trying to say. If I were to give a bracelet to you now, I would measure your wrist twice. With love, your grandmother. I had a letter from everyone I knew. I laid them out on my bedroom floor and organized them by what they shared. 100 letters. I was always moving them around, trying to make connections. I wanted to understand. Several years later, a childhood friend reappeared at the moment I most needed him. I had been in America for only 2 months. An agency was supporting me, but soon I would have to support myself. I did not know how to support myself. I read newspapers and magazines all day long. I wanted to learn idioms. I wanted to become a real American. Chew the fat, blow off some steam. Close but no cigar. Rings a bell. I must have sounded ridiculous. I only wanted to be natural. I gave up on that. I had not seen him since I lost everything. I had not thought of him. He and my older sister, Anna, were friends. I came upon them kissing one afternoon in the field behind the shed behind our house. It made me so excited. I felt as if I were kissing someone. I had never kissed anyone. I was more excited than if it had been me. Our house was small. Anna and I shared a bed. That night I told her what I had seen. She made me promise never to speak a word about it. I promised her. She said, "Why should I believe you?" I wanted to tell her, because what I saw would no longer be mine if I talked about it. I said, "Because I am your sister." "Thank you." "Can I watch you kiss?" "Can you watch us kiss?" "You could tell me where you were going to kiss, and I would hide and watch." She laughed enough to migrate an entire flock of birds. That was how she said yes. Sometimes it was in the field behind the shed behind our house. Sometimes it was behind the brick wall in the schoolyard. It was always behind something. I wondered if she told him. I wondered if she could feel me watching them, if that made it more exciting for her. Why did I ask to watch? Why did she agree? I had gone to him when I was trying to learn more about the forced laborer. I had gone to everyone. To Anna's sweet little sister. Here is the letter you asked for. I am almost 2 meters in height. My eyes are brown. I have been told that my hands are big. I want to be a sculptor, and I want to marry your sister. Those are my only dreams. I could write more, but that is all that matters. Your friend, Thomas. I walked into a bakery 7 years later, and there he was. He had dogs at his feet and a bird in a cage beside him. The 7 years were not 7 years. They were not 700 years. Their length could not be measured in years, just as an ocean could not explain the distance we had traveled, just as the dead can never be counted. I wanted to run away from him, and I wanted to go right up next to him. I went right up next to him. "Are you Thomas?" I asked. He shook his head no. "You are," I said. "I know you are." He shook his head no. "From Dresden." He opened his right hand, which had "no" tattooed on it. "I remember you. I used to watch you kiss my sister." He took out a little book and wrote, "I don't speak. I'm sorry." That made me cry. He wiped away my tears, but he did not admit to being who he was. He never did. We spent the afternoon together. The whole time I wanted to touch him. I felt so deeply for this person that I had not seen in so long. 7 years before, he had been a giant, and now he seemed small. I wanted to give him the money that the agency had given me. I did not need to tell him my story, but I needed to listen to his. I wanted to protect him, which I was sure I could do, even if I could not protect myself. I asked, "Did you become a sculptor like you dreamed?" He showed me his right hand, and there was silence. We had everything to say to each other, but no ways to say it. He wrote, "Are you okay?" I told him, "My eyes are crummy." He wrote, "But are you okay?" I told him, "That's a very complicated question." He wrote, "That's a very simple answer." I asked, "Are you okay?" He wrote, "Some mornings I wake up feeling grateful." We talked for hours, but we just kept repeating those same things over and over. Our cups emptied. The day emptied. I was more alone than if I had been alone. We were about to go in different directions. We did not know how to do anything else. "It's getting late," I said. He showed me his left hand, which had "yes" tattooed on it. I said, I should probably go home. He flipped back through his book and pointed at, "Are you okay?" I nodded yes. I started to walk off. I was going to walk to the Hudson River and keep walking. I would carry the biggest stone I could bear and let my lungs fill with water. But then I heard him clapping his hands behind me. I turned around and he motioned for me to come to him. I wanted to run away from him, and I wanted to go to him. I went to him. He asked if I would pose for him. He wrote his question in German, and it wasn't until then that I realized we had been writing in English all afternoon, and that I had been speaking English. "Yes," I said in German. "Yes." We made arrangements for the next day. His apartment was like a zoo. There were animals everywhere. Dogs and cats, a dozen bird cages, fish tanks, glass boxes with snakes and lizards and insects, mice in cages so the cats wouldn't get them, like Noah's Ark. But he kept one corner clean and bright. He said he was saving the space. For what? For sculptures. I wanted to know from what or from whom, but I did not ask. He led me by the hand. We talked for half an hour about what he wanted to make. I told him I would do whatever he needed. We drank coffee. He wrote that he had not made a sculpture in America. Why not? I haven't been able to. Why not? We never talked about the past. But he opened the flue, although I don't know why. Birds sang in the other room. I took off my clothes. I went onto the couch. He stared at me. It was the first time I had ever been naked in front of a man. I wonder if he knew that. He came over and moved my body like I was a doll. He put my hands behind my head. He bent my right leg a little. I assumed his hands were so rough from all the sculptures he used to make. He lowered my chin. He turned my palms up. His attention filled the hole in the middle of me. I went back the next day. And the next day. I stopped looking for a job. All that mattered was him looking at me. I was prepared to fall apart if it came to that. Each time it was the same. He would talk about what he wanted to make. I would tell him I would do whatever he needed. We would drink coffee. We would never talk about the past. He would open the flue. The birds would sing in the other room. I would undress. He would position me. He would sculpt me. Sometimes I would think about those 100 letters laid across my bedroom floor. If I hadn't collected them, would our house have burned less brightly? I looked at the sculpture after every session. He went to feed the animals. He let me be alone with it, although I never asked him for privacy. He understood. After only a few sessions, it became clear that he was sculpting Anna. He was trying to remake the girl he knew 7 years before. He looked at me as he sculpted, but he saw her. The positioning took longer and longer. He touched more of me. He moved me around more. He spent 10 full minutes bending and unbending my knee. He closed and unclosed my hands. "I hope this doesn't embarrass you," he wrote in German in his little book. "No," I said in German. "No." He folded one of my arms. He straightened one of my arms. The next week he touched my hair for what might have been 5 or 50 minutes. He wrote, "I am looking for an acceptable compromise." I wanted to know how he lived through that night. He touched my breasts, easing them apart. "I think this will be good," he wrote. I wanted to know what will be good. How will it be good? He touched me all over. I can tell you these things because I am not ashamed of them, because I learn from them. And I trust you to understand me. You are the only one I trust, Oscar. The positioning was the sculpting. He was sculpting me. He was trying to make me so he could fall in love with me. He spread my legs. His palms pressed gently at the insides of my thighs. My thighs pressed back. His palms pressed out. Birds were singing in the other room. We were looking for an acceptable compromise. The next week he held the backs of my legs, and the next week he was behind me. It was the first time I had ever made love. I wondered if he knew that. I felt like crying. I wondered, why does anyone ever make love? I looked at the unfinished sculpture of my sister, and the unfinished girl looked back at me. Why does anyone ever make love? We walked together to the bakery where we first met. Together and separately, we sat at a table, on the same side, facing the windows. I did not need to know if he could love me. I needed to know if he could need me. I flipped to the next blank page of his little book and wrote, "Please marry me." He looked at his hands. Yes and no. Why does anyone ever make love? He took his pen and wrote on the next and last page, "No children." That was our first rule. "I understand," I told him in English. We never used German again. The next day, your grandfather and I were married.